Hello everybody, my name is Rabbi Nick, and welcome to our new series where we will be endeavoring and attempting to learn the whole of Chumash together over the course of the next year, chapter by chapter, day by day. And you'll see that the chapters are divided differently to the portions that we read in Shul, to the Aliyot, and the way it's broken down over there. But today we're going to study chapter 1 of Parshas Bereishit, the very, very beginning. You're going to see that we're talking about the creation of the world, of the universe really, the place where it all begins, the moment when complete chaos turns into an orderly plan and perfect order. You're going to see in this chapter, chapter 1, that we're going to go through the 6 days of creation, and the 7th day is going to be covered in chapter 2. Each and every day is going to end with Vayhi Erev, Vayhi Voker, the popular refrain that we might be familiar with, and it was evening and it was morning. And as we go along, maybe we'll try and sprinkle in some ideas, but in the main, we're going to be trying to tackle the text, go through verse by verse, understand the English, and hopefully start to build a picture of what the Chumash is trying to teach us. If you're following inside the Koren Sachs Chumash, we're starting on page 4 and page 5. And so without further ado, let us begin. Chapter 1, verse 1. Bereishit bara Elohim es hashamayim ve'es haaretz. In the beginning of God's creating the heavens and the earth. There is so much that we can say. We're going to notice, by the way, that we're going to go through the days of creation. And then when we get into the next chapter, you're almost going to have a repeat of the story of creation. And it's important to understand, therefore, that the Torah is not just a storybook. It's not just a chronology. There are lots of things that we can unravel, lots of things we can reveal, lots of things that we can unpack. And so not everything goes in order. But here we go. We've created the world. Well done. Verse 2. V'ha'aretz ha'sasohu v'avohu v'choshech al pnei sahom. And the earth was astonishingly empty. It was void and it was desolate. V'choshech al pnei sahom. And there's darkness upon the surface of the deep. V'ruach Elohim merachefes al pnei hamayim, and the divine presence is hovering upon the surface of the waters. Immediately you might have a question. How are we talking about waters if we haven't created anything yet? That is why there is so much that we can learn about, so much that we can discuss. And if you want to submit any questions, you may do so, and we will try wherever possible to share answers on the WhatsApp group. For now, we continue. Verse 3, Vayomer Elohim yehi or, vayhi or. And Hashem says, let there be light, and there was light. Verse number 4, Vaya Elohim es ha'or ki tov. Hashem sees. Hashem saw that the light was good. Vayavdel Elohim bein ha'or uvein ha'choshech. And Hashem separates between the light and darkness. Vayikra Elohim la'or yom. And for the light, Hashem calls it yom, day. V'lachoshech kara laila. And to darkness, he calls it light. Vayhi erev, vayhi voker, yom echad. And there was evening and there was morning, yom echad, one day. Interesting to note here that it doesn't say yom rishon. Sunday we call yom rishon, and yet here the Torah says yom echad, because for the rest of the days we'll see it says yom sheni, yom shlishi, yom revi'i, but here it starts with yom echad. Okay, congratulations, you've just done day 1. Let's move on to day 2, verses 6 and 7 and 8. Vayomer Elohim yehi rakia b'soch hamayim. And Hashem said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters. V'hi mavdil bein mayim lamayim. And let it separate between water and water. Vayas Elohim es harakia. Vayavdel ben hamayim asher mitachas l'rakia. Uvein hamayim asher mi'al l'rakia. Vayhi chen. So God made this expanse and separated the water beneath the expanse from the water above. Vayhi chen. And it was so. So there's some kind of division, there's some kind of separation between some kind of creation that is called the waters. Vayikra Elohim l'rakia shamayim, and to the firmament, to this upper expanse, he calls it heaven. Vayhi erev, vayhi voke yom sheni, and it was evening and it was morning, the 2nd day. And by the way, this is why the Jewish day starts in the night, because of this structure of Vayhi Erev, Vayhi Voker, that it starts in the night. And that is day 2. We move on to day 3, verse 9. Vayomer Elohim. Then God said, Yikavu hamayim mitachas hashamayim el makom echad. V'seira'eh hayabasha. Let the water beneath the heavens be gathered into one place, and let dry land appear. Vayhi chen, and it was so. Vayikra Elohim la yabasha eretz, And Hashem calls the dry ground Eretz, he calls it earth, calls it land. And the gathered waters he calls Yamim, he calls it seas. Vayar Elohim Kitov. And Hashem saw it and saw that it was good. And interesting to note, day 2, he didn't mention that he saw it as good. And there's a wonderful idea here that because he is creating separation, that is the root of machlokes. It's the root of arguments. It's the root of division. So there, he doesn't say that it was good. But we're back on track here with day 3. He does say it was good. Verse 11. Vayomer Elohim, and Hashem said, Tadshe haaretz desher, let the earth sprout vegetation. Esev mazria zera, seed-bearing plants. Eitz peri, ose peri lamino, asher zaruvo al haaretz, and trees of all the kinds on earth that grow seed-bearing fruit. Vayhi and it was so. Vatotze haaretz desher, and the earth brought forth vegetation. Esev mazria zera, plants bearing seeds, leminehu, each of its kind. Ve'etz ose peri, asher zaruvo laminehu, and trees bearing fruit containing seeds, each of its kind. Vayar Elohim Kitov, and Hashem saw that it was good. Vayhi Erev, Vayhi Vaker Yom Shlishi, and there was evening, and there was morning, a third day. We move on to day 4, verse 14. Vayomer Elohim, and Hashem said, God said, Yehi ma'oros berikir hashamayim, let there be lights in the heavens' expanse, lahavdil bein hayom uvein halayla, to separate from the day and the night. And they should serve as signs for the seasons, for the days, and for the years. They shall be lights in the heavens' expanse, shining upon the earth. And it was so. Interesting to note over here that when we talk about the 7 days of creation, whether or not that means 7 24-hour periods or whether it could mean billions of years, I'll leave it to you guys to think about and to discuss and to investigate. But the point that I think is worth mentioning is that we haven't created the solar system and the orbits as we know it. And so perhaps there may be a way of explaining how the universe can be measured as being billions of years old when we talk about 7 days of creation. It's a very fascinating topic. Wonderful work from Professor Gerald Schroeder that you're welcome to read into. But I will leave that with you as some additional food for thought. Verse 16, Vayas Elohim es shnei ha'ma'oros hagadolim. And God made 2 great lights. Es ha'ma'or hagadol lememsheles hayom. Greater light is there to rule by day. Ve'es ha'ma'or hakaton lememsheles halayla. And the smaller, the lesser light is there to rule by night. Ve'es ha'kochavim, and the stars as well. Vayiten osam Elohim berekir hashamayim l'ha'ir al ha'aretz. God set them in the heavens' expanse to shine upon the earth. V'limshol bayom uvalayla, they're going to rule by day and by night. Ulahavdil bein ha'or uvein ha'choshech, and they will separate between the light and the dark. Vayar Elohim kitov, and God saw that it was good. Vayhi erev, vayhi voker yom revi'i. There was evening and there was morning, a 4th day. We move into day 5. Vayomer Elohim yishretzu hamayim sheret nefesh chaya. Let the water teem with swarms of living creatures. Va'of ya'ofef al haaretz al panei rekia hashamayim, and let birds fly over the earth across the heavens' expanse. Vayivra Elohim es hataninim hagadolim. So God created the great sea serpents, the great sea giants. For es kol nefesh hachaya haromeses asher shatzu hamayim. And he also creates all the kinds of crawling living things that swarm in the water. Ve'es kol of kanaf leminehu, and all kinds of winged flying creatures. Vayar Elohim kitov, and Hashem saw that it was good. Vayivarech osam Elohim lemor, and Hashem blessed them, saying, Peru uruvu, be fruitful and multiply. Umilu es hamayim bayamim, v'ha'of yirev ba'aretz, and fill the waters of the seas, and let flying creatures multiply and increase on the earth. Vayhi erev, vayhi voker, yom chamishi. And there was evening and there was morning, a 5th day. Now I noticed that as I've gone through this and we've been talking about Vayomer Elohim, and I've been translated that as God, or I've translated it as Hashem. So there are different names for Hashem. Elohim is one of them. The name that is spelt with a yud and a hey and a vav and a hey is another one of those names. And it's interesting to just take note of the times when when the Torah uses different names for Hashem. That's important to keep in mind. And as we go along, hopefully we'll build an understanding of what these different names mean and what they might be implying. But it's all the one Hashem, it's all the one God. And at this point, as we are going through the creation process, the Chumash, the Torah, is referring to him with that name of Hashem, which is Elohim. Let's continue now in verse 24 with the sixth day, the creation of animals, the creation of mankind, an exciting time. And then we will finish our first chapter. Vayomer Elohim, Totze haaretz nefesh chaya lemina behema varemes v'chai sa'eretz lemina. Then God said, let the land produce every kind of living thing, all the different species of cattle and crawling things, wild animals of the earth. Vayhi and so it was. Vayas Elohim es chayas haaretz lemina. Hashem made the different kinds of wild animals of the earth. Ve'esa behema lemina, and cattle, different species of cattle and animals. Ve'es kol remes o adama leminehu, and all the species of creature that crawl and creep on the land. Vayar Elohim ki tov, and Hashem saw that it was good. Vayomer Elohim, and God said, Nase Adam b'tzalmeinu kidmusenu. Let us make man in our image and after our likeness. Lots of fascinating ideas as to what's going on here. Who is Hashem talking to? Who is he consulting with on the creation of mankind? What is this image? If Hashem is not physical, how are we creating mankind in any kind of image of something which is not physical? Yirdu vidgas hayam v'of hashamayim. They shall rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the sky, uvabahema, and of the animals, uvachol haaretz, and of the whole land, uvachol haremes haremes al haaretz, and of over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. Vayivra Elohim es adam b'tzalmo, and Hashem creates man in his image, but selem Elohim bara oso, in the image of God he creates him. Zachar unekeva bara osam. He created him, male and female, he created them. Vayom Elohim Elohim, and God said to them, Peru uravu, umilu es haaretz, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth, v'chiv shuha, and subdue it, conquer it, urdu bidgas hayam, and rule over the fish of the sea, uv'of hashamayim, and the birds of the sky, v'chol chaya harames es al haaretz, and every living thing that moves on earth. Vayomer Elohim, and God said, Hinei, behold, nosati lachem es kol eretz zoreya zera. I've given to you all plant life. I've given to you all of the seed-bearing plants on the face of the earth. Asher al panei chol haaretz. Ves kol ha'etz, asher bo, 3 eitz, zoreya zara. And I have given to you as well all the trees with seed-bearing fruits. Lachem yihiyeh la'achla. For you, they should be to eat. And all of the beasts of the earth, to all the birds of the heavens, and everything that crawls on the earth, that has within it a living spirit. I've given to you and to them every green plant for food. And it was so. Vayar Elohim es kol asher asa. And so Hashem sees all that he has made. Our final verse, 31 verses. God saw all that he has made. V'hinei tov me'od. And he sees that it was very good. So far what we've said is that it was tov. And finally, after creating mankind, the purpose of all creation, the reason why all of this is being done, Hashem looks and says, V'hinei tov ma'od. It is very good. Vayhi erev, vayhi voker, yom ha-shishi. And it was evening, and it was morning, the sixth day, yom ha-shishi. As I said, lots to talk about, lots to learn about, but that is chapter 1. Please be in touch with any questions, with anything that troubles you. I hope you've got something out of our journey together through chapter 1. And please God, we'll see you for chapter 2, where we will finally complete the week of creation. We'll talk about the seventh day. We'll talk about Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And then in chapter 3, we'll get into the actual story of the Garden of Eden that we might be familiar with. Lots more to come. In the meantime, though, thank you all for listening, and see you for chapter 2.